Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be doing some planting. We've got some annuals to plant in the ground in 2 different locations, and then we're going to head to the cut flower garden to plant our tomatoes and peppers because that's where they're going to go this year. So let's take a look at these plants. The whole back of the gator is pretty much full of the Surefire Rose Begonias, looking so fresh and beautiful. We've got our tomatoes and our peppers here. The only type of pepper that I am missing because they didn't have them at the garden center when I went and looked is the red bells. But we've got the yellow bells, green bells, we've got Jalafuego, and then we've got our tomato varieties, which I'll go over when we get out there. And then up front here, we've got a few flats of Supertunia Vista Bubblegum, which I think it's been a year or 2 since I've planted any of this. I know last year I didn't have any. I'm excited to have it back out in the garden again. So the first project is going to be underneath these maple trees, and we are going in again with the Surefire Rose Begonias. But before we kind of look at that, I wanted to walk you through what we planted in this spot last year. So this is an interesting area because, you know, it has evolved a lot. When we moved in, maybe we have some footage, it was just lawn. There was a fence right here, a short fence, lawn, and then another fence, and there were a couple of kind of sick willow trees. Anyway, we took all of that out and created this garden space, which I absolutely love. The red point maples here have really put on a lot of size. One of the bigger changes in this area is the light. So you can see underneath the maples, which is where the begonias are going to be going, it's very dappled. You know, some spots are more shaded, some get a little more sun, and it changes all throughout the day. So to find an annual that likes both shade and sun and will perform the same and look the same in both types of light is kind of difficult. And the Surefire Begonias have been the best. Last year we did Surefire White, and that was the first time we had planted that color in this location. They were tiny when we put them in. By the end of the season, actually not even by the end of the season, it did not take them long to fill in, and they were just so beautiful. The thing I love about the Surefire Begonias, no matter what, we've done rose in this area actually the year prior to that, and I mean, we're just kind of sticking with it because they do so well in this space. But the thing I love about them is that they're very controlled. They're not aggressive. They don't like grow into the boxwoods. They don't get carried away with themselves. You don't have to deadhead them. You don't have to fertilize them. Their foliage is a very glossy green, so it looks very lush all season long, and they're full of color all season. And they can take a light frost, especially being underneath the canopy of the trees. They even last further into the fall than they would if they were exposed. So initially when we started this area, we were able to plant Supertunias under the trees, and I think we did Superbenas one year, but then eventually it got too shaded and those type of plants just did not do super great. So this is what we're doing again. They're just watered along with everything else and they do fantastic. I am going to be using my Laura Edition 3-inch auger. You guys, this thing is an amazing tool. It's been a game changer for me. I mean, all of the augers have been, but this one in particular is just exactly the perfect thing in terms of height and weight. When you've got a big job with a lot of different plants, whether you're doing annuals or 4-inch perennials or whatever, it makes quick work of things, so I can go along and make all of my holes without bending over. It's just very nice. So the auger itself is 36 inches, and then the flighting, this is what makes it a Laura Edition. The flighting right here, which is the curly part around the center, it's a lot shorter than standard augers. Standard augers, it comes way up here, and it adds quite a lot of weight. So by eliminating that, which was completely unnecessary for what we're planting, it makes it so much lighter, and that adds up through the course of the day. So anyway, let's get the Surefire Rose Begonias in the ground, and then we'll move on to location number 2. made it to the end. They're all filled up with the Surefire Rose. It's gonna be so pretty. And I used roughly, it's between 25 and 30 in each one of these wells. They recommend spacing between 12 and 18 inches. So I like to go on the closer end of things. These are about 12 inches. Maybe in some cases they're a little bit further apart, but they will fill in this area. And that kind of depends on the look you're going for too. Sometimes you want it to be a little bit more open and airy. I kind of like it to be kind of a big block of color right here. And I don't know that we necessarily need to go look at all of them because they all look the same, and it's honestly a little bit hard to see them at the moment. This one might be the most shaded, possibly. And it has a lot of color in this one to begin with. So nice. And now I need to figure out what to put in these urns back here. This whole flower bed is filled up with flowers that are either pink, purple, white, or kind of a chartreuse color. So I'll pick something somewhere in that zone. Year before last, when we had the Surefire Rose in here, I planted Supertunia Vista Jazzberry in the urns. And while they're both of those plants are amazing performers, amazing color, they are two pinks that clash in my eyes. The Jazzberry is almost like it's like a blue pink. It's a very, very cool pink, which I love. But pairing it with the more warm pink of the Surefire Rose, oh, it kind of bugged me all season long. And I thought, I need to note that and remember it. So that's me remembering it. Don't put Jazzberry in these urns. Maybe we'll do something purple, but didn't I do purple last year? Didn't we do Bordeaux in here last year? I can't remember. Anyway, we'll get it all figured out. So now we're gonna head out to the south garden to plant the Supertunia bubblegum. Oh, look at this. All the Dahlia T-posts are in. Bethany's out giving them a clean right now. Here we are at the end of the loop in the south garden. We've got a hedge of Limelight Prime hydrangeas right here. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 hydrangeas. It's gonna be glorious. And let me show you what we planted in here last year. Some of you might remember, but we put sparkling amethyst superbenas in this area. And I planted 80 of them, which was completely, in the end, I mean, all the plants were gorgeous. They filled in very fast. Probably unnecessary to plant that many in this area. In fact, I was looking at it this morning and I thought, I don't think I'm gonna even need to use, because I planned for 50 Supertunia Vista bubblegum. I think that's going to be too many. The Vista bubblegum and like the Snowdrift and the Superbena whiteout, those type of plants, you do not need very many for high impact. So maybe we'll kind of go for that, like show you how few you can use in a space to really create that show-stopping moment in the garden. So we'll take one of these and kind of size it up. It says on the tag, the spacing, the maximum for spacing is 32 inches. So I'm thinking if we do, I don't know, I'm gonna have to just play with it, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We might end up with 25 to 30 in this area. Let me get it all laid out and then we can go from there. That would be awesome to fill up this huge of a space with just 25 plants. Six plants. Starting right here, there are some daffodils right there, so we'll cut that foliage back here soon. But I just kind of staggered them forward and backward. I don't know, we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of hoping that like the back one fills in. You know, they kind of meet maybe in the middle, the two back ones, and same with the two front ones, while the middle one fills in the center. I don't know, I'm hoping that that's how it works out, but I don't think that we need any more than these right here. I think this will do it. 26 versus 80. Let's get them in the ground. And there they are, all planted. I did recount the plants just to make sure that there were indeed 26 plants here and not more than that, because it's just astounding to me that you can, if you choose the plants that really go for it, you can stretch your budget so far with plants like this as opposed to planting something that just stays a lot smaller. So just give these a little bit of time. They'll start, I mean, all of them have buds on them, but they'll start really thickening up and spreading out, and we'll have so much color over here. I'm looking forward to it. A little bit of a sad update though in this same area. Remember all of the light lavender butterfly bushes I planted last year? And I don't even remember what variety they were. I picked them up just kind of randomly because I thought they were pretty. All of them died, every single one of them, which is so strange. All my other buddleias survived. They all have to usually be cut almost back down to the ground every year, but they still live, and then they push a ton of growth and provide a ton of color, but these just couldn't take it, I guess. So we'll have to figure out something else to plant behind this hedge of primes, but it's gonna be glorious out here. Okay, last project for the day are the tomato and pepper plants, which I'm planting so many less of, which makes me excited because every single year I get so excited. I know that many of you understand this excitement. You know, we get a little bit overcommitted in the spring because everything is so small. Like, you know, surely I can keep on top of just, you know, like 30 of these because they're so small and tidy looking and they're not producing any or creating any extra work for me right now. But when it comes around to harvest season, it's just all we can do to keep up on them. And last year, I think we had, did we have 38 tomatoes? Something like that. And then right around that many pepper plants. And while I love to harvest and give what we can away, we're still going to be able to give some away. And it will lighten everybody's load because there's a lot to do around here. And there's a lot of projects that I would love to tackle. And I just usually don't have the capacity to really even let it enter my brain because there's so many other things going on. So I'm trying to pare down some things, condense where I'm planting so that I can focus on those other areas and actually maybe get something done, like the flower beds up in front of the house that have been sitting empty for 2 years, things like that. The other thing that I'm thinking about, and I haven't decided 100%, but I'm thinking about either growing very few of or none of are vine crops like pumpkins and squash. One of my favorite memories growing up was visiting the farm stand, like one of our local farm stands, to pick out our pumpkins. There was such excitement over that, and I want my kids to have that memory. When you grow things in your own garden, it's exciting in its own way, and it's fun to watch things grow. That's why we might still do a few, but I don't know, there's nothing like going and picking out pumpkins that somebody else has grown, done all the work for, and harvested and hauled to the produce stand, and that they're all ready to go for you. I don't know, I just thought that that might be one other area that we could eliminate, you know, the vast amount that we were growing, and then we could support a local farmer as well, which I think that's good too. I don't know, every year I just have different thoughts on how I want to do things, and it's fun to try out different things too. It allows you to focus energy in other areas. Ooh, look at these peonies, you guys. This just stopped me in my tracks. Remember, we transplanted this peony and that one, and there's another one back there last year from the area where the pond is now. Look at how much this plant has not resented me for it. I'm so thankful because it did resent me in the beginning. It totally flopped over and the whole top of it died, especially this one. But this is gonna be gorgeous. They're great big coral ones. I think they're coral charms maybe. And the bumbles love the Camassia. This right here is a bulb you plant in the fall, just like tulips and daffodils, and it comes up like this in the spring. They're beautiful. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. All right, so here are the vegetable plants. Here are the Titan tomato cages, the tall version. There's a short version as well. And this is where we're gonna plant the tomatoes, in the rose garden, because why not? So my reasoning behind planting them in the rose garden is, one, it will take up some space out here. I decided to kind of put the brakes on planting more roses right in this space because we might retool. Even if we keep the rose garden exactly the same format with the rose and things, we might space them out a little bit further. And we are talking through some other ideas on what we can do out in this space. So I thought, you know what, I don't want to plant more roses just to have to dig them up and move them around a little bit. So why don't we just use this space for the tomatoes, because there's the perfect amount of space for 6 tomato plants, and it'll be very easy to set them up on water because the drip line already runs down all of these rows. So you can see all the planting rows are mulched in compost, all the walking rows are in this more barky sort of mulch, And if we get down in here, hold on, I'll get there. There it is. See, there's already a 1/2 inch supply line running down each one of these rows. So all I will have to do is pop in some emitters around the plants. Having the water already set up is huge. We are going to have to install the tomato frames, which I brought the 2-inch auger out. I usually like to set my frame where I want it, sort of. So this isn't going to be exact, but I kind of set it in the spot and make little marks in the soil like that. And then when I remove it, I can kind of see where I need to make my holes with the auger. And then I can slide this tomato frame all the way up to the first ring. But all of the tomatoes I have here are indeterminate type tomatoes. We've got an heirloom called Pineapple, my all-time favorite heirloom variety. We've got another one called Big Beef. It usually produces tomatoes a little bit earlier. They're nice, big, meaty tomatoes. I've got 3 Super Fantastics, which has kind of been a perennial favorite of mine. They are so tasty, they're meaty, they're kind of like a beefsteak style tomato. They're nice size and they're just really reliable. And then we have one Sun Sugar, which is our cherry tomato. It's a yellow one. We've talked through different categories of tomatoes in the past, but indeterminate type of tomatoes are the vining type tomatoes. Like, they will keep growing and growing and growing as long as you have support for them. So we're going to be using the tall tomato frames instead of the short ones. The other good thing about indeterminates is that they flower and set fruit all throughout the whole season. So you get a very consistent crop all the way throughout, all the way until a frost takes them. Determinate tomatoes, which we don't have any of this year, they usually stay a little bit on the shorter side. They don't vine all over the place, so they're a little bit more tidy for smaller areas. They don't bear fruit all the way through the season though. They usually have a fairly decent season though. They set their flowers and they set their fruit all within a certain time frame. And each one of them will vary a little bit. There are semi-determinate tomatoes as well. So some that will bloom and set fruit all season on a shorter plant. So you just kind of have to learn a little bit about the varieties that are available and which ones fit your needs the best. If you're short on space, or if you want to grow in containers or even in hanging baskets, there's like little itty bitty tomatoes out there, but you'll want to look for a determinate type. If you've got a ton of space and a way to support them, the indeterminates are great. And then our peppers, which, like I said, I need to just find a 4-pack of red bells. So we'll end up having 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 in the end, 12, 14 in the end. I'm going to plant them at the end of our Rudbeckia row because I think we have just the right amount of space in that row. Okay, so I'm just going to get these in the ground. The only special thing I do with the tomatoes is I usually bury them a little bit deep because they will form roots all along their stem, and it really does make for a really healthy and robust tomato plant in the end. Some people will actually plant them at a slant, like plant them in kind of a trench with just the leaves sticking out. I do like to make sure that all the leaves near the soil surface, so like on this one you can see some little leaves down here, I make sure that no leaves touch the soil because that can create some issues with your plants. So I'll just clean them up a little bit. Like this one right here, I'll probably pop this bottom one off, and that one, and we'll bury it up to about there. But you don't have to do that. I've planted them right at their soil level that they come with, and they do just fine, as long as they get full sun and consistent water. All right, let's get them planted. All right guys, we got it all done. So the peppers are here at the end of the Rudbeckia row. I spaced them about 18 or so inches apart, maybe slightly more than that. So we've got the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 peppers in there. We have room for probably 8 more. So I might get 1 4-pack of red bells and 1 4-pack of something else, or we might just tuck some more flowers in because the last pepper is here, and then we've got that space to the Rudbeckia that starts right up in there. And they're looking really good. We haven't made it out here with mulch yet, but the plants are looking great. And so are the tomatoes. They fit in perfectly over there. You can see Aaron on the golf cart with the kids. They've been running around watering all the annuals we just planted, the other part of the crew. So the 6 tomato plants, they just tucked in beautifully. And if we get a wild hair, we can add probably 3 more tomato frames without getting too much in the way. And we could kind of keep it all in this corner. Samantha's got something in her shoe. So we've got the sun sugar, the pineapple, the big beef, and then all 3 of the super fantastics right here. We're also going to have a little bit of space in our raised bed garden as well because we've got 2 3x4 and 2 3x6 L-shaped beds full of garlic that we will be harvesting right around the 4th of July, so we can tuck in some late crops in those beds. We also have beds with greens and peas and things like that that we will be cleaning out here in not that long, and we'll have plenty of time if we want to tuck some tomatoes a little closer to the house to put them up there. But I'm so happy with how everything turned out today. I am excited to see all the annuals fill in. It just feels like we're now in full gear. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I'm excited to give you updates later on in the season, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.